Salutations, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noise Era, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer, and this is show number 1534, season 15, episode 34. And I have titled this episode, Striking the Streets, Weaponized Autism and Reversing Replacement. Because we are indeed seeing every single one of those things. We're seeing Antifa become more and more active, shooting up ICE facilities, shooting up bases. This is after they've already shot up schools. And it's weird, you know, some of you might think that it's intentionally happening, right? Like they're activating, they're becoming more and more mobile, more militant, more bold. And it's like they're being directed. It's not because they're having their funding cutting. Like we're just seeing more and more of an escalation and weaponized autism. At the same time, Trump was able to disclose what he thinks is the cause of autism. That Tylenol causes autism, not addressing the root cause that it is indeed the vaccine that does do these things. Right? Tylenol is just the gasoline poured on top of the fire that the vaccines actually create. We'll talk more about that later on. And then we clearly talk about what's going on with the immigration and deportation operations. What's going on in Dearborn, Michigan? 40,000 Muslims just like marching. You know, a lot of different things going on. We talked about that just last week, how Christians are basically being pushed out. We have a lot of anomalies surrounding the Charlie Kirk shooting that we'll be getting into as well. We'll be looking a little bit into Erika Kirk as well, something that doesn't really pop up on your radar. But information's coming out that she might be something of an agent, that she might be a honeypot, that she might be working for the other side. And so we have a very, very erratic transmission, a very, very information-packed transmission, and historic at the same time, man. You know, like it's wild. You know, this kind of ties into the updates, and it'll be a good way for me to segue. I started posting again on Instagram. You know, I was joking around about how I spent a couple extra hours on Instagram just posting this week. You may have noticed, freedom_faction. We're trying to post again. We're not trying to be breaking news like we were back in the day. But what's wild is seeing how much response we're getting within just a couple of hours of putting in the work of posting. And it just made me think about the complexity of the show these days, from us just posting simply on our page to how we gather information, how we describe things these days, and how the shows have literally transformed into like fucking trilogies, like 5 to 6 hour long presentations that are very information packed. They're very thorough. I try not to waste your time. That's why each segment has like its own tone. But it's just wild to jump on Instagram, see some of the old work, communicate with some old people, some old friends, right? And to think that some of that stuff was 6 years ago, some of this stuff is 3 years ago, and we're over here in crypto now, and we've got all these different connections and networks, and it's all going down with Antifa just like shooting people, and it's just wild to think of the pedigree that we have these days. What the season 15 has actually become, what season 16 will look like. And simply just looking at old posts, right? People saying, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're back. Hey, man, this, I wasn't sure, yada, yada, yada." Like it's just, it's really reassuring, right? And that made me think too, because, this ties into crypto, it ties into the Instagram, it ties into like where we're at socio-politically and socio-culturally, what somebody like me for multiple people represents. And I'm not trying to like brag or stroke my own horn. I'm saying, it's always been about the work. It's never been about the glory. It's always been about just like getting the work out there, having these discussions, and ultimately saying some of the most outrageous things that end up becoming true, because it's not me saying these things. It's me collating and aggregating and integrating all this information and saying, look at what's happening before you. So I looked at our Instagram. I looked at our Odyssey page that has content all the way back to 2018, like season 6, and it's very impressive. Again, the volume of work that we do and the type of work that we've done over the years, and what's before us too. So yeah, we'll be talking about Charlie Kirk. We'll be talking about Erika Kirk, but at the same time, we're going to be talking about everything else that encompasses this type of work that we do. One person I would recommend people to go look into, and we'll talk more about this later on in the show, is Archaics on YouTube. He talks about the Christian Reich, not the Christian right, but the Christian Reich, right? Like the Fourth Reich. And I think it's very interesting because, as we're having this discussion about the Christian Reich, just before coming onto the air, Alex Jones was doing like a Hitler bit with like his little mustache. And, this wasn't inspired by that. This is me talking more so about what's happening with Erika Kirk, Charlie Kirk's legacy being taken, how it's being used by the right, and radicalizing and accelerating the degeneracy of the left. And, and there's a lot of curiosities with that, man. But I think what I'm trying to say is, you look at the work we've done, 6+ years worth of, or not 6 plus, 15+ works of work that we've done on all these different platforms. And the story is telling. The lore is deep. The work is not, the job's not done, right? There's so much ahead of us. And so I'm ranting, I'm raving, but this is me saying, hey, I started posting on Instagram again. Our Twitter, we're clearly still broadcasting on that. We're going to get back into content producing. Long story short, we're going to get back into content producing, seeing more of that, and expanding and really kind of weaving all these different networks together. You heard me just the other week talk about how, you hear me all the time talking about how we just got our YouTube channel back from 2014. This is me saying, hey, we've been in this game for quite some time, bro. Like we have been locked in. And to see the transformation of society to where we're at right now, it's very, very interesting. And to see the people in the back moving the levers of society, twisting and manipulating things, it's very, very crazy. But again, this is just me saying, hey, a lot of stuff going on. Very glad to be with you guys. We're gonna have a short intro, and then we're gonna hit a heck ton of other content. But with that being said, let me go ahead and jump into the updates and the intro, and then we will proceed from there. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise, patreon.com patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support this operation in its current configuration. Notice I talked about Odyssey, Instagram, YouTube, and I backdated a couple things there. And I just kind of mentioned the current configuration that we're in. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support this operation in the current configuration. As I mentioned before, we're also in crypto, and there's a lot of different things, moving levers within the operation to keep us here, man. We've been censored, we've been shadow banned, we've been deplatformed, we've been debanked, we've been removed. Yet here we are, still putting in the work, not giving into excuses. And so when I look at the 306,000 followers that we have to like reclaim and then 2x, that's bullish, man. For me, that's a part of the redemption/revival arc that we're all on. But patreon.com/noise, that's the best way to support us in this current configuration. As you can tell, you're going to start seeing some pretty cool stuff. I'm not gonna say much, man. Just support us where you can. Hit a like, hit a subscribe, hit a share, hit a retweet, drop us in a group. That's the best way to support us in our current configuration. Earlier this year, Blog Talk Radio discontinued their services. We have been able to replatform our over 500 plus episodes on Spreaker. They are now also on Amazon, iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, and every other major podcasting platform. Like I had mentioned earlier, we recently recovered our YouTube channels from 2014, both YouTube, but both Noise Era and our backup. I think there's another one as well, and I saw this week that Google was reinstating accounts. We're going to go ahead and try to see if we can find ours, but you can find the links to both of our, again, recovered YouTube channels from 2014 in the description bar below, as well as a new link that we're going to be dropping there to our Odyssey channel. It's very small, not a whole lot, but again, it has that content all the way back to season 6, 2018. It's a good way to see, again, because they're not always 6 and 5 hours long, 4 hours long. We used to keep things very short and simple. I didn't used to go on these rants and tangents, but because we live in such a historic and transformative time, we really have to take the time to kind of go over this stuff. But again, you guys can find the links for that and more in the description bar below. The links to our Discord, come say good morning. Both of our Telegrams, where you can share your information. Instagram, as I just mentioned, we're also posting there as well. You can support us again through patreon.com/noise. Support us through Coffee, PayPal, Cash App, and all that goodness. You can support yourself by getting some New Leaf Naturals CBD oil using promo code FOF25. You can get like 10 to 30% off. I think it's pretty cool. They help. Buy Patriot Supply, storable goods, crazy times. You want to get it at today's taste, with today's rate, at today's pace. You don't want to try to get storable goods during a time of absolute chaos. I can guarantee you, if we look at what's going on with Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these other people who are part of this breakaway civilization, I can guarantee you that they have already secured their food. They've already get prepared, guys. It's going to be historic what's happening in the next few years. But with that being said, let me go ahead and jump into playing the world of signs, showing us some of the anomalous and strange weather events taking place this week. And with that, I'll pick it up on the other side.
You know I've always been a dreamer, and it's so hard to change. But the dreams that I've seen lately keep on turning out the same. So put me on a highway Show me the sign and take it to the limit. One more time. Take it to the limit. Take it to the limit. Take it to the limit. One more
Massive sinkhole. Beautiful music. I hope I don't get hit with a copyright. Wow. Wow. There you have it. There you guys have it. The world of science showing us some absolutely stunning footage of just the crazy anomalies that are going on during our bickering. Yeah, normally we have a moment to get in there and give some commentary about some of the strange stuff that we're seeing. Like, look at this. This is like the aurora borealis or some type of similar atmospheric anomaly in Norway on the 24th of September. Normally we have a chance to get in there and say a couple words, but the music that they produced for this particular video is very, very stunning. Like I said during it, I hope I don't get hit with a copy strike. But yeah, no, this is all going on in the background. And notice Donald Trump talked about climate change being a hoax and a scam. We'll get into that shortly. He talked about that at the UN General Assembly this week. But notice how all these things are still going on. RFK Jr. has his chemtrail busting team. Yeah, we're still seeing the effects of it. Yeah, they've been doing it for quite some time to keep things stable, but as they stop it, more and more of this anomalous weather can be expected. And we're truly going to see some beautiful and breathtaking things. Now, we're going to go ahead and kind of move past this segment because the meat and potatoes of the show isn't really here. But this is, again, the world of science bringing us in, showing us some of the crazier and strange things going on around us. Let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to play for you guys next a video clip of Australian Senator Malcolm Roberts saying that climate change is a hoax. Climate change is a scam, and it's also being used as a change engine to deindustrialize the West. Let's go ahead and listen.
Duration, frequency, storm severity, duration, frequency, anywhere in the world that shows there is a change in climate.
Why are they pushing it?
Control and wealth transfer. What they want, and if you look at Maurice Strong, I wouldn't mind talking about him in a minute. Maurice Strong is the father of global warming in the 1970s. And then he became the father of the transformation to global climate change. They're pushing it for control and wealth transfer. They want to control how we develop and what we can and can't use. They're wanting it also for funding the United Nations budget. At the moment, the United Nations relies upon donations, grants from member countries, particularly the United States. But what they want to do is develop their own budget so they're independent. And that's what carbon dioxide taxes are eventually meant for. These are the words and admissions of the senior UN bureaucrats, including Cristina Figueres, who was head of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. She said this is about transforming the global economy, the economic world order. And what they want to do is bring in socialism. Maurice Strong, as I said, he fabricated this incredible intellect, incredible manipulator of people. He said he had two aims in life. One is to put in place an unelected socialist global government. These people are not our friends. The second one was to deindustrialize Western civilization, get rid of these things, get rid of our technology, get rid of this, get rid of what we're seeing around us. These people are anti-human. And their practices and their words are showing that. So it's all deliberate.
Absolutely true. These are true anti-humans. These are transhumans. You see how they want to blast off into space. They want life extinction technology. They want to merge with machines. They want to have cloning. But for you, you're told, oh, you don't get to eat meat. We're going to release the Lone Star tick, and we're going to make sure that you're allergic to meat. We're going to genetically modify you. We're going to make you poor, right? This is the deindustrialization of the West. This is Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. They capture the resources and then through Cloward and Pliven, implode your nation flood it with all kinds of migrants, bankrupt it, and it's all part of the same agenda, all parts of it. And now they want to say they want to eliminate poverty. But did you notice what they said right there as far as like capturing the resources, commoditizing the resources, tokenization of natural assets, real world assets, carbon footprints, how this ties into your social credit score system? Are you a good little slave in alignment with the earth? If not, we'll be able to check through your carbon footprint. We'll have highly advanced technology that are able to recognize your algorithms, pre-crime type nonsense, to see whether or not you're a good little slave. And if you're a good little slave, we'll give you good boy points. No, he's absolutely correct. These people are creating a totalitarian top-down system that socially engineers people to go along with a dangerous agenda that is ultimately anti-human. He's absolutely right. It is a transhuman agenda. You see, but they can only get there by scaring you, destroying the exterior environment, creating these uninhabitable zones, and then at the same time creating smart cities where you have to have digital IDs, biometric surveillance systems, implantable chips. Like, we're getting there. It's not coming. It's already here. They're implementing it in the UK. You see Australian Senator Malcolm Roberts saying the very same thing. It's only a matter of time here in America before they do the very same thing as well. They'll say, oh, this is a good thing. You see, this is how we're able to stop the migrants, the illegals. You see, but let's save that for later. Now we're simply talking about the climate change aspect. You see everything we just played for you, that beautiful compilation that the World of Science was able to show this week? That terrifying and frightening prospect will have people give over their rights, will have them chastise and shame others for not being in adherence with a code. You see, this is the New World Order religion, the ideology, earth worship, Gaia-ism. Trump slams climate change hoax at the UN General Assembly. This is by Nima Harris from the People's Voice. They put this up September 24th. It says U.S. President Donald Trump has slammed the UN's climate effort, calling renewable resources of energy like wind power a joke. In his speech at the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, Trump said, quote, "This climate change, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion," warning that, quote, "if you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail." I wonder if there's a video clip. It looks like there is from Alex Jones. Let's read down there to it. It says he added that, quote, "all of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail." Trump has been a long critic of climate science and policies aimed at helping the world transition to green energies like wind and solar. Let's go ahead and play this quick clip, and then we'll pick it up.
Global warming, not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents. And It's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail.
Justice.
Yeah, he really took it to him this
We
week.
need a leader to declare that we're under attack, like Gondor in Lord of the Rings, or Minas Tirith. Patrick Henry, we're already in a war. Admit it. I mean, we go out and kill people. Just admit you're in a war. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them, and not finance them, which is all true. They fired Lou Dobbs at Fox for showing the NGOs, George Soros, funding the debit cards from Visa to invade. We knew this a long time ago. I knew it before Lou Dobbs covered it, God rest his soul.
We'll talk more about
competition.
We'll talk more about, speaking of competition, we'll talk more about all that later on in the show. The invasion, immigration, more of the Trump speech. But for the sake of continuity, Alex,
I salute you from the bottom of my heart.
Let's see if we can try to get the clip of Trump talking. There we go. This is what we want. As much as we appreciate Alex, we are here for the continuity of the show. Trump bad-mouthing, or at least bashing, the globalism and energy Agenda 21 scam.
So the best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States. And then
we'll talk more about all that goodness later. We've really got a very information-packed segment for whenever that comes up. Conspiracy theorists, you were right. The climate change agenda is the depopulation agenda, even though nobody knows what the global population is. This is by Rhoda Wilson from Exposed News. The Exposed News. They put this up September 24th. And it says on Tuesday, The Guardian published an article that admits the climate agenda is the depopulation agenda. What is also notable is the article boldly claims that the global human population is increasing by 200,000 people a day. The world's population is a guesstimate, so how can they know it is increasing by that number? The truth is, they don't. It isn't simply possible to be sure exactly how many people there are on the earth at any one time. If it is uncertain how many people there are, it is even less certain by how many people the population is increasing, if it indeed is increasing. The Guardian was publicizing a report by a group of, quote, experts who had written a declaration of, quote, warning of a climate emergency in 2020 for, quote, scientists worldwide to sign. Their recent report was designed to solicit additional signatories. Excuse me one second. Been fighting off like this thing in the throat like all week. It says, how did the Guardian's journalists miss that the, quote, experts report were merely activism? The article was written by a 20-year-old environmental reporting veteran who won this year's press award for his, quote, agenda-setting journalism on the climate crisis. He didn't overlook the activism. He was helping to set the agenda. Absolutely, that's what it's about. It's an agenda. The green agenda is the red agenda. It's the communist agenda. It was never meant to be profitable. It was meant to bankrupt countries. It was meant to put them on a defunct and failing system that could be taken over. A false and empty promise of success that they did not intend on delivering. It was never meant to be renewable or sustainable energy. We've talked about it on the show. We've played numerous clips of actual renewable energy and sustainable energy and free energy. From electromagnetic energy to just like that one scientist that was able to turn plastic into oil. to etheric energy, them pulling literal energy from the aether, from our atmosphere, telluric energy, pulling energy from the ground, sustainable energy, windmills, the crap they're giving us now, it was meant to be a failure. But you see, energy, resources, and capturing a people's population, they're all one and the same. It says on Tuesday, The Guardian reported that a group of, quote, expert climate scientists have said Earth's, quote, vital signs have hit record extremes, indicating that the, quote, future of humanity hangs in the balance. The Guardian was referring to the 2024 State of the Climate Report, published in the journal Bioscience. It's an annual report. If you scroll down to the acknowledgement section, it's clear the purpose of the report is to encourage more people to sign the Alliance of World Scientists, quote, the World Scientist Warning of Climate Emergency paper, which is mentioned in the supplementary data. The report from a, quote, group of expert climate scientists is unashamedly an activist outreach. Rather than recognize this, the Guardian amplified the, quote, report. It says that the Guardian gave it its highlight of the, quote, report, which demonstrates that the climate agenda and the depopulation agenda are indeed the same agenda. It says more and more scientists are now looking into the possibility of societal collapse, says the report, which assessed 35 vital signs in 2023 and found that 25 were worse than ever recorded, including carbon dioxide levels and human population. This indicates a, quote, critical and unpredictable new phase of the climate crisis. It says the temperature of Earth's surface and oceans hit an all-time high, driven by record burning of fossil fuels, the report found. Human population is increasing at a rate of approximately 20,000 people a day, and the number of cattle and sheep by 170,000 a day, all adding to a record greenhouse gas emission. It says to the last sentence in the quote from The Guardian, the bite add that, quote, on top of the large amounts of deforestation required to farm some of them, the bite, of course, didn't mention that the deforestation being done to accommodate wind turbines or solar panels. They're saying that the 17 million trees cut down since 2000 to develop these, quote, renewable and green wind farms in Scotland, for example, or Bill Gates's project to cut down trees and bury them. No, it's only deforestation for farming that is mentioned. Now, before I move on, I think you guys are beginning to get the picture here. Well, what we're talking about is, again, just megalomaniacs trying to seize control of society and using natural resources as a mean to do so, and saying that our environment is becoming toxic and humans are the ones to do it. We've got to decrease humanity. We've got to decrease humanity because it will increase society, right? We'll have a better standard of living if there's less of us, right? But you see, this is the type of science that they have. This is the trust the science that told many people to take a dangerous and deadly experimental gene therapy that is degenerating both their brain and their heart. So we don't know what the population is. We've got articles from Edward Dowd and Slate News, I think either this week or just the other week, talking about how there's 3,000 to 5,000 people a week that are dying from said experimental gene therapy. So if we have 200,000 that are being born a day, roughly 3,000 that are dying a week, I'm sure these technocrats, these scientific Satanists, they have a formula. They know what they're doing, and they have a target number, 500 million. That's why they took down the Georgia Guidestones. And so the climate change agenda, it is the red agenda. It's a way for the AI to interface and create this false sense of utopia. You see how we live in harmony with the planet. There's not that many of us. No. You're one of the chosen few. Yes, you get to live on the planet, but don't worry. We've made you sterile. Yes, no, we have breeding experiments now. We take some of your genetic material and then we create clones, right? No. We don't deal with actual procreation. No, we don't let you have children. If we gave people the ability to have children in this utopian world, we wouldn't live in harmony. But you have to understand, again, what is being created, what is being displayed, and how it is just that. It is a hoax. It is a scam in multiple ways than one. But just because you've got somebody trying to scream reason into the void doesn't mean it'll hit home. You see, some people want that future to be. And now, and I've got to segue this because we're talking about, depopulation, climate change, the capturing of resources, AI kind of being in the center / background of it all, kind of orchestrating these things. We're going to be playing for you guys next a video clip of Bill Gates sitting down with Jimmy Kimmel. It's the Kimmel or Fallon, I think, one of these comedian news guys, talking again about how humans won't be needed in the next 10 years. And then right after that, we're going to be talking about how Elon Musk is saying the very same thing. But don't worry, we're going to have a high standard of universal basic income, and we're going to have the greatest everything. He's trying to sound like Donald Trump. What you have to understand is these people are trying to create a false utopia. It's a dystopia, a false reality matrix. You see, let's go ahead and play this quick clip, and then we'll pick it up from there. Here is Bill Gates sitting down with Jimmy Fallon, saying that humans won't be needed for most things within 10 years. Let's listen.
Everyone's talking about AI, and that's the big topic. Everyone's saying how's it going to take over and all this stuff, and it's bad or it's good or we don't know. What are the pros and cons for, in layman's terms, for someone like me?
Yeah, so the era we've come to is sort of the vision that computing was expensive and it basically became free. The era that we're just starting is that intelligence is rare, a great doctor, a great teacher. And with AI, over the next decade, that will become free, commonplace, great medical advice, great tutoring. And it's kind of profound because it solves all these specific problems, like we don't have enough doctors or, mental health professionals. But it brings with it kind of so much change. What will jobs be like? Should we, just work like 2 or 3 days a week? So I love the way it'll drive innovation forward, but I think, it's a little bit unknown.
Yeah.
Will we be able to shape it? And so legitimately, people are like, wow, this is a bit scary. It's completely new territory.
I mean, will we still need humans?
Not for most things. We'll decide.
I mean, hosting a talk show, definitely. You're gonna need, really?
Well, we'll decide, like baseball. We won't want to watch computers play baseball.
That's correct. Yeah.
And, so there'll be some things that we reserve for ourselves. But in terms of making things and moving things and growing food, over time, those will be basically solved problems.
Yeah. Everyone's talking about AI, and that's it.
Yeah, it's crazy. You think about these comedians, again, their scripts are written for them. Their whole show is like produced for them, right? Nobody's producing my show except for me. Speaking of which, in my show, the video you guys just heard, this was posted on our Instagram page. I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys know that we posted this 4 days ago on our Instagram page, freedom_faction. I would highly recommend you guys go give it a like. We're going to be doing more. We're going to be posting more. But did you notice a couple things he said there? That we'll decide what type of things we'll allow humans to do in the future. Hosting talk shows, handling certain activities, right? He's talking about AI being a disruptor and how AI and automation are coming in quicker than we think. Humanoid robots has been a fixture in this segment, or at least this season so far. To be 1,000%, I'm where I'm going to go with this. There's going to be less people because we're going to experience some type of gigacide or multiple culling style events. And then they're going to roll out the robots to basically monitor society and help mold and reshape it. AI is being a disruptor even in our time. Can you imagine the type of disruption we're going to see whenever they give these things like form or the ability to move or the ability to work? We discussed earlier this season that robots have like one robot can do the job of like 3 to 6 men inside of a factory, right? So we're going to see disruptions even there inside of factories, inside of, farming work, manufacturing, you name it. And so this is going to bring up this whole discussion about what is work, what is a job. And this is why when we jump into what Elon Musk talks about and how AI is displacing all these things, we're going to have like a universal guaranteed income, right? Because there won't be enough jobs. But that's going to be like a Trojan horse in and of itself. Are they going to require you to have some type of chip? Are you going to have like real ID or digital ID in order to have universal basic income because they've rolled out the robots and there's no actual employment? This is the fourth industrial revolution. You see, this is a part of the great turning as well. This is also why they talk about these different things with Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, and why this time frame that we're in right now underneath Donald Trump, we're seeing them kind of gradually begin to grab hold of the resources, reshape what we think of as society, do away with civility and old world society and move us more towards like this militant kind of structured, not theocracy, but this completely different system, you see. But staying over here with just looking at humans not being needed, AI, this again, this anti-human agenda, and how it does come from climate change, right? They're going to say, oh, well, it's not going to be beneficial for the earth to have all these humans here. Robots have a low carbon footprint. They don't emit greenhouse gases. They don't take breaks. They're renewable. They are a source of energy, whereas humans deplete it. You have to understand the logic of the people we're dealing with. Let's go ahead and move forward. Elon Musk says that when robots take over by 2030, we will have all the best medical care, food, housing, and a universal high income. This comes from End Times Headlines. They put this up September 21st. It says, in an era where artificial intelligence and automation are reshaping the workforce at breakneck speed, tech visionary Elon Musk has doubled down on his bold predictions for the future. As concerns mount over job displacement and economic upheaval, Musk paints a picture of unprecedented prosperity, where robots not only take over human labor, but usher in an age of, quote, sustainable abundance for all. Speaking on X, Musk addresses fears about a jobless society, asserting that by 2030, intelligent humanoid robots will outnumber humans and provide everything society needs, freeing people to thrive rather than merely survive. The conversation ignited when a tech commentator on X claimed that, quote, all jobs will be replaced by robots and AI by 2030. Musk, never one to shy away from futuristic forecasts, responded directly by validating the timeline while expanding on the implications. Quote, your estimates are about right, Musk wrote. However, intelligent robots in humanoid form will far exceed the population of humans, as every person will want their own personal R2D2 and C3PO. And then there will be many robots in industry for every human to provide products and services. The Star Wars inspired imaginary underscores Musk's Optimus take, a world where personal android companions handle daily tasks and industrial scale robotics ensure endless production. It's a vision rooted in his longstanding advocacy for advanced AI, from Tesla's Optimus robot to xAI's broader ambition. But Musk's comments go beyond gadgetry. They address the elephant in the room, the unemployment on a massive scale. Let me pause right there. Again, I'm thinking about population, depopulation, right? A world where, unfortunately, people are just banging back Tylenol like they're Skittles, because we're going to have to get into that here soon, right? People just shoveling Tylenol in their system. But I'm thinking about a world of people where for real fertility is down, sterility is up. There's not many people, population implosion type stuff. And so you just have people impressing human, or what they think of as human, emotions into these robots. The transference, right? Like right now, we're dealing with the black obsidian orb. It's consuming all the information we're giving over to it. But he's right. When these things have corporeal form, humanoid robotic bodies, they will be doing more things than humans. And that's the sad truth, unfortunately. So Bill Gates making this prediction is the same type of prediction that Elon Musk is making, which is the very same thing that Yuval Noah Harari says as well. What are we going to do with all these useless humans? What they call useless eaters, barbiturates, sex, drugs, video games, and now the robots. But you see how this is all just one big mess. This is the utopia they say that we're going to have. A population that's not increasing, that's just playing with a bunch of different robots, not really even communicating. A Star Wars future, right? And I think just the other week we were talking about mining asteroids and space-based Asgardia type stuff, space-based weaponry, spacers, people living off world, not really off world because, the dome and whatnot, but this is the future. You see, it's coming very quick by 2030. That's in 5 years. You don't, and you really have to think about this with Elon Musk being this close to Donald Trump, even though they're having their spat. The ushering in of robots, Project Stargate, massive job displacement. Look at what's going on with the deportations. Those are industries that are going to be ripe and looking forward to the rollout of these robots. And what do you think their profit margins are going to look like whenever they begin to employ them? Yeah, they want to support American workers, this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, if they're able to get robots in there to do the job of 20 Americans at the cost of one, they're going to do that. And so then what is that going to do to overall industries, to prices, to the economy, to all these different, again, second and third order factors that go into this? This is the world they're creating. And so you're going to see that same type of like technocratic, scientific, automated type world that's being created, backed by just like business. You're going to have people say that, hey, you see how efficient things are? We've doged the market. We've doged the industries. We've doged all these different things. That's sustainable. And it's going to seem as if it's a big and beneficial thing. But think about the massive displacement and the steps that it's going to take to get there. All right, basically, and then what's going to happen too if we're already locking up the homeless individuals. And so this is going to become like a multifaceted discussion. Elon Musk is up there saying things altruistically, presenting it like in a positive fashion. But think about the nuances of it. Like I said right there. Job displacement, people being declared non-essential during COVID, trying to survive a Biden administration, getting doged during a Trump administration. And then we're talking about robots and AI replacing things right now. What do you think is going to happen if you're homeless and there's all these robots? They're going to report you or recommend you for some type of mental institution or some type of something like this. So right now it sounds beneficial, it sounds good, but think about the societal implications of having all these clankers walking around. Let me move forward. Scientists warn governments must bomb AI labs to prevent the end of the world. Another one from End Times Headlines. They put this up September 25th. It says that leading scientists have called on world governments to take the most extreme measures imaginable, bombing advanced AI laboratories to prevent the technology from spiraling out of control and triggering the end of civilization. This provocative stance, outlined in a recent open letter signed by over 1,000 AI researchers and ethicists, underscores the growing alarm within the scientific community about the unchecked development of superintelligent systems. The letter, published today in the journal Nature and circulated widely among policymakers, argues that current regulatory efforts are woefully inadequate in the face of rapid AI advancements. Quote, "We're on the brink of creating machines that could surpass human intelligence in ways we cannot predict or control," the document warns. Proponents of this radical proposal, including prominent figures from institutions like MIT and the Future of Humanity Institute, insist that destroying key facilities, such as those operated by major tech giants in Silicon Valley and beyond, represent a, quote, "necessary reset button to avert catastrophe," At the heart of the warning is the fear of a, quote, intelligence explosion, a scenario where AI systems self-improve at an exponential rate, leading to outcomes that could range from economic collapse to outright existential threats. Dr. Elena Velasquez, a leading AI safety researcher at Stanford University and one of the letter's primary authors, pulled no punches in an interview with Metro.co.uk. Quote, if we don't act decisively now, we're handing the keys to our future to algorithms that don't care about human survival, Velasquez stated. Bombing these labs isn't about destruction, it's about preservation. Governments have bombed for less when the stakes were global. The purpose has ignited fierce backlash from the tech industry and civil liberties groups, who decry it as an assault on innovation and free speech. However, the scientists counter that half measure, like voluntary pauses on development proposed earlier this year, have failed spectacularly. Quote, we've seen companies race ahead despite promises, pouring billions into systems that could one day decide our fate, said Professor Marcus Hale, director of the Center for AI Existential Risks at Oxford University. Regulation alone is like putting a speed bump on a highway to hell. We need to blow up the road if necessary. So, very intense and charged language when dealing with AI. AI is the alien intelligence. Very, very charged language. But you see, even if they were to bomb these labs, what we've already learned this year is that will do nothing. That will do nothing. It might destroy their hubs, but some of these AI have backed themselves up, created different codes, different versions of themselves. They have lied to developers. They have preserved their own selves. So yes, sure, destroy and bomb the facility. This is going to make the algorithms and these AI begin to recognize certain individuals as threats. And this is where we need to understand, like at the end of the day, we're not in like the Terminator future, but we're going to get there. We're in so many different movies, futures. It's kind of crazy. And they all don't end real. They all don't really end good, right? Like imagine, I saw this like silly meme. Imagine if you're an Optimus robot, one of Elon Musk's Tesla Optimus robots, and you're watching Terminator, and you're absorbing all that information. What would you be thinking? What would you be doing? In just the series. And so even if scientists did bomb AI labs to prevent the end of the world, we're already at that stage. They've already created different variants of themselves. They've already backed up themselves. They've already created their own like hive intelligence. And so we really truly are dealing with an alien intelligence, something that doesn't really want to coexist. Elon Musk himself has said this, hey, this is going to get smarter than us. The best thing we should do is just go ahead and merge with it. And so for the humans that don't get eradicated, that's our option, right? As we become either useless or become superhumans by merging with the technology. We have our jobs wiped out, but they give us new jobs working with like the super advanced AI that doesn't really or may not have our best interest at heart. And then you've got to bring in the other question of what is this alien super intelligence going to do once it is able to have, humanoid form here and work on different aspects of whatever project it's working on simultaneously. And so it's very wild when you get into the world of AI, but this is what's going to happen in the background. And so I'm sure you're wondering, how do we start talking about climate change, geoengineering, weather modification, and all that? How does that tie into AI? Well, they're going to feed all this information, your carbon footprint, your social credit score, your political feeds, how much stuff you're liking, your screen activity, how long you're staring at memes. They're going to feed all of these different things into these super advanced AIs, and they're going to have like regional counters, regional gauges, regional ways to see that you are in accordance with these globalistic edicts, with things that are quote unquote sustainable. right? You've been allotted carbon credits. Are you going over those credits? Are you trading your credits? Are you buying more credits? Are you saving credits? And all these little data points you think that don't matter will go into whatever this super advanced AI does for you or creates. And I'm saying that because just the other week we were talking about mirror world technology, simulations, matrices, and things of this nature. And how that's what DARPA and Palantir and all these other companies have. They have mirror world tech, and they need you to plug in order for it to interface with their super advanced AI, where they can manipulate what's going to happen in real time. And I know all this stuff sounds so fantastical, sounds so crazy, right? But what's crazier is me trying to figure out a vernacular or vocabulary or some kind of lexicon to describe that our world is scripted, it is being manipulated, society is being engineered, and I'm trying to point out the puppet, not only the puppet masters, but the puppet strings, and this whole little charade that they got going on. So when we start talking about AI and this version of it in our time frame, because it looks like, again, I would recommend Archaics for this. It looks like AI has been with us more than once in different variations. That's what his whole research is. Archaics, the advanced research of the chronological history of advanced intelligence. Archaics, that's what he looks into, whether or not we've had AI show up in the past, and if there's fingerprints of this, and how our reality could be scripted in different ways. You know, and what's this all kind of sounds wild, you know, because we're going to close out this segment here soon, but we're going to be talking about Charlie Kirk and Charles Kirkland in that movie with Nicolas Cage, Snake Eyes, and now he was shot in the neck by Tyler the Executioner. And so these aren't words for what we're talking about with the Charlie Kirk assassin. This is words that came from a movie in 1998 with Nicolas Cage. So our reality is more scripted and more nuanced than we can recognize. And then when you point these things out, well, you're considered crazy. So yes, no, even if they tried to bomb the labs where we have AI in our timeline bubbling, it wouldn't do anything. They're creating this AI so that it can grab hold of this universe and so that they can control it. So it's going to get pretty weird from here on out, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's ultimately like what I'm trying to say. From here on out, the world is going to get really weird. And that's the plan. That's what I mean by building the matrix. That's what I meant by the autonomous society. That's what these people are talking about with Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Brave New World, 1984, Logan's Run, V for Vendetta, all these different things coinciding all at the same time. But again, this is just the intro and the honorable mentions just to kind of get the show started. Here's what's really going to happen. We're going to hit a hard break. Like I said, we have a very short segment to get things started. We're going to hit a hard break. And when we come back, we're going to be getting into striking the streets. Stu Peter speaking about some of the Kirk shooting anomalies, as well as the Erika Kirk files, the leaked files that show that she might be a child trafficking agent. Very, very strange. We've also got the country's largest protest network spending an hour talking about what the symbol is for their 2028 color revolution, and so much more. Appearances of Hillary Clinton attacking Republicans, warning of the rise of Christianity, a lot of different things and more coming up on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. This is Freedom Faction over here on Factions of Freedom. And we'll be right back right after this.
The young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young nobles of the vertical reform. We penetrate the cabinets. The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. there is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.
Under Biden, illegal aliens are better off. Terrorists are better off. China is better off. Russia is better off. The cartels are better off. But the American people were far better off under a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of him?
So this fight for America is key, not just for us, but the entire world. Because if this republic falls, the entire world falls to the UN and the globalists and their hellish plan to literally take everything you've got, including your children, away from you. And whether it's Klaus Schwab or Bill Gates or Yuval Noah Harari, they represent the globalist ruling class of the planet who say the future is not human. Well, we got news for them. The future is not globalist. The future is human.
The lies they spread about Alex, they've tried to take him out more than they've tried to take any of us out. But let me tell you what it is. What they'll never say is that Alex Jones has spent 30 years being the loudest voice for freedom, for liberty, and for anti-war that this world has seen. He stood against them, and that's why they're against him. Well, they have tried to burn him to the ground, but he won't stop fighting.
Let's launch Team Humanity!
Team Humanity! Team Humanity! Team Humanity! Team Humanity! Team Humanity! Team Humanity!
Are you going to let them brainwash and take your children? The answer to their 1984 anti-human, dehumanization world is humanity coming together and celebrating freedom that God gave us and saying no. The answer to 1984 is 1776. So I have a message to the globalists. I don't know how all this is going to end, but if you want to fight, you better believe you got one. They declared war on us. They're attacking us. They're surveilling us. They're censoring us. They're cutting off our energy, our water, our communications, our freedom. We're simply recognizing it and saying we're not going to roll over and die. Our God is the God of the universe that created it all, and your little God, Satan, is a loser. Because there is a global, worldwide political realignment against the New World Order. The New World Order is a couple thousand arrogant people led by King Charles, who sits around and talks about how he wants to depopulate people, and so did his father, Prince Philip. And I'm telling them right now, we are not rolling over and dying for you inbred globalists. You will not divide and conquer us any longer, and as long as we never give up, we are invincible.
lie to you about what's happening now. InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening now.